The first gunshot shattered the chandelier above Amelia Brooks before she even understood she was the target. Crystal rained across the grand ballroom like frozen stars. Women screamed. Men ducked behind marble columns. Champagne glasses burst against the polished floor. Somewhere near the stage, the governor's daughter was pulled beneath a table by 3 armed guards, her diamond necklace flashing in the chaos. Everyone knew why the attack had come. Power, money, politics, the De Luca name. And at the center of the ballroom stood Alessandro De Luca, the most feared mafia boss on the East Coast, dressed in a black tuxedo, motionless beneath the falling glass. He did not flinch. He did not run. His men formed a wall around him, weapons drawn, eyes scanning every balcony and exit. Amelia froze near the edge of the room, one hand pressed against the old leather journal she had brought for the museum auction. She was not a senator's wife, not a billionaire's daughter, not a woman the newspapers photographed. She owned a small bookstore on Beacon Hill. Most people in that room had not even looked at her twice. So when Alessandro suddenly turned his head and looked directly at her, the entire world seemed to narrow into one impossible breath. His eyes were dark, cold, and terrifyingly familiar. Another shot cracked through the ballroom. A bullet tore through the space where Amelia had been standing half a second before. Before she could move, Alessandro De Luca walked toward her. Not toward the governor's daughter, not toward the mayor, not toward the priceless diplomatic guests hiding behind security, toward her. His bodyguards shouted his name, but he ignored them. He crossed the ballroom through smoke and gunfire with the calm of a man who had made peace with death long ago. Amelia stumbled backward, but he reached her first. He tore off his custom overcoat and wrapped it around her shoulders, shielding her body with his own as another bullet struck the marble wall behind them. Then he pulled her against his chest. His voice was low enough that only she could hear it. "I've finally found you." Amelia's breath disappeared. "I don't know you," she whispered. His jaw tightened. "Yes, you do." Then the lights went out. The ballroom fell into darkness. For 3 seconds there was only screaming, smoke, and the sound of men dying in the dark. Alessandro's hand closed around Amelia's wrist. "Stay behind me. I'm not going anywhere with you." He looked back at her, and for the first time, something almost human cracked through the coldness in his face. "If you stay here, they will kill you." "Who?" His answer came without hesitation. "Everyone who knows what you are." Before Amelia could ask what that meant, one of the masked gunmen charged through the smoke. Alessandro moved faster than thought. He pushed Amelia behind him, caught the attacker's wrist, and disarmed him with brutal precision. The sound of bone breaking made Amelia gasp. Alessandro did not even blink. His men surrounded them seconds later. "Garage exit is compromised," one of them said. 2 shooters down, more outside. Alessandro's eyes never left Amelia. "Bring the car to the East Service Tunnel. Boss, the governor's daughter, is not the target." The bodyguard stopped. Alessandro's voice dropped into something lethal. "She is." Amelia's stomach turned cold. The man pointed to her, as if the entire room had finally remembered she existed. And in that moment, as dozens of powerful people stared at her with confusion, fear, and sudden suspicion, Amelia Brooks realized her quiet life had ended before she ever understood why. Alessandro pulled her through a hidden service corridor behind the ballroom. The air smelled of smoke, gunpowder, and old hotel dust. His hand stayed firm around hers. Not painful, but impossible to escape. "I said I'm not going with you," she snapped, though her voice shook. "You are already with me." "That is not an answer. It is the only answer that keeps you alive." They turned a corner. 2 black-suited guards opened a steel door leading down a narrow stairwell. Amelia yanked her hand free. Alessandro stopped. For a moment, the world around them seemed to hold its breath. She stood there in his oversized coat, glass dust caught in her dark curls. her emerald dress torn at the hem, her eyes furious despite the fear rising in them. "I don't care who you are," she said. "I don't belong to you." Something shifted in his expression. Not anger, admiration. "No," he said quietly. "You don't." The honesty of it startled her more than any threat could have. Then another explosion shook the corridor above them. Dust fell from the ceiling. Alessandro stepped closer, his voice controlled, almost gentle. "But tonight, every man hunting you believes you belong to a secret that should have died 28 years ago. So you can hate me later, Amelia. Right now, you walk." Her blood went still. "How do you know my name?" His eyes darkened. "I have known your name for 12 years. Before she could breathe, he guided her down the stairwell. At the bottom, a black SUV waited in the underground service tunnel, engine running, headlights cutting through steam rising from the pipes. Amelia looked back once. The ballroom above was still full of screams. And somehow, the most frightening thing in her world was no longer the gunfire. It was the man holding the door open for her, as if he had been waiting for this moment his entire life. The SUV tore through the snowy streets of Boston. Outside, the city blurred into white and gold. Sirens screamed behind them, black cars followed. Alessandro sat beside Amelia, silent, one hand resting near his gun, his gaze fixed on the side mirror. Amelia pressed herself against the door. "Where are you taking me?" "Somewhere they cannot reach you." "Who are they?" He did not answer. She laughed once, bitter and terrified. "You walk into a ballroom, get people killed, drag me into a car, and now you expect me to trust you?" "No." That answer threw her off. Alessandro looked at her then. "I expect you to survive me before you decide whether to trust me." There was no charm in him, no easy seduction, no practiced smile, only control, and beneath it, something darker, something haunted. The SUV swerved sharply as gunfire exploded behind them. Amelia ducked instinctively. Alessandro's arm came across her body, pinning her low before she could hit the floor. His body covered hers in the cramped back seat. Too close, too warm, too steady. She could feel his heartbeat. Not racing. Not even close. "You're not afraid," she whispered. His mouth was near her ear. "I was afraid before I found you." The words should have sounded romantic. They sounded like a warning. Their driver shouted, "2 cars closing in." Alessandro lifted his head. "Halber route. That road is iced. Then drive carefully." The SUV shot down a narrow street toward the water. Tires screamed against black ice. Behind them, headlights multiplied like predators. Amelia clutched the leather journal to her chest. Alessandro noticed. "That book," he said. "Where did you get it?" "It belonged to an old historian who sold me his private collection." "When?" 3 weeks ago." His face hardened. "What was his name?" "Edwin Vale." For the first time, true emotion crossed Alessandro's face. Rage. Not loud. Not explosive. Worse, quiet. "Vale is dead," he said. Amelia's fingers tightened around the book. "No, I saw him." "You saw a man using his name." The SUV lurched as another vehicle slammed into them from behind. Amelia cried out. Alessandro caught the back of her head before it hit the window. "Look at me," he ordered. She hated that she did. His gaze held hers. Sharp and impossible. "If I tell you to move, you move. If I tell you to run, you run. If I tell you not to look back, Amelia, you do not look back. Stop saying my name like you own it." His eyes dropped to her mouth for one dangerous second before returning to her eyes. "I say it like I spent 12 years making sure no one carved it on a grave." The SUV crashed through a locked gate and descended into a private harbor garage hidden beneath an abandoned shipping office. Men with rifles appeared from the shadows. Not police, not hotel security. Alessandro's world. Amelia was pulled from one nightmare into another, Inside the safe house, everything was silent, expensive and cold. The building overlooked Boston Harbor, its windows blacked out, its walls reinforced, its rooms lit by amber lamps and surveillance screens. Snow pressed against the glass, like the city itself was trying to look inside. Alessandro led Amelia into a room lined with bookshelves. For one strange second, she forgot to be afraid. The shelves were filled with rare editions, first printings, antique maps, and hand-bound volumes older than the country itself. "You built a prison with a library," she said. "It is not a prison. Are the doors locked?" "Yes." "Then you and I define prison differently." Something like amusement touched his eyes, but it vanished quickly. A woman entered carrying a medical kit. Mid-50s, silver hair, calm eyes. "This is Elena," Alessandro said. "She will check your injuries." "I'm fine. You are bleeding." Amelia looked down. A thin red line crossed her forearm where glass had cut her. "It's nothing." Alessandro's expression turned colder. "Nothing is what men call pain. When it belongs to women, they expect to endure it." The room fell quiet. Amelia stared at him, surprised by the anger beneath his words. Elena gently cleaned the wound. Alessandro stood near the window, watching every movement. "You can stop hovering," Amelia said. "I am not hovering. You are standing like you plan to murder the antiseptic." Elena hid a smile. Alessandro did not, but his eyes softened by a fraction. When Elena left, Amelia stood and walked to the nearest surveillance screen. Her bookstore appeared on one monitor, her home on another, her street, her front door. Her blood turned cold. "You've been watching me." Alessandro did not deny it. "For 12 years? Not every day. That is not the comforting answer you think it is. I never entered your home. I never interfered with your life unless danger came near it." Amelia turned on him. "My life? You mean the life you apparently know more about than I do?" His silence was answer enough. Her throat tightened. "You had no right." "No." Again, the honesty cut deeper than a defense would have. "I had a debt. I am not someone's debt." His eyes moved across her face, lingering as if he had memorized details she had never allowed anyone to study so openly. "No," he said. "You became much more dangerous than that." Amelia hated the way her chest tightened. Not from fear, from the terrible intimacy of being seen too clearly by a man she should despise. "What am I?" she asked. Alessandro looked toward the window. Outside, Boston Harbor was black beneath the falling snow. "You are the only living person who saw the Sorrento Accord signed." "I don't know what that is." "You were 6. I don't remember anything like that." "That is why you are still alive." The words settled between them like a loaded gun. Alessandro opened the leather journal on the desk. Hidden inside the spine was a thin strip of microfilm. Amelia stepped closer despite herself. "What is that?" "Proof that someone has decided your memories are returning." "My memories of what?" "A room in Sicily. 5 mafia kings. A federal agent undercover. A child hidden under a table. And a massacre that was supposed to leave no witnesses." Amelia's mouth went dry. "No." Alessandro looked at her. "You survived." A sharp pain flashed behind her eyes. For 1 second, she smelled oranges, salt air, candle smoke, and blood. Amelia staggered. Alessandro caught her before she fell. His hand spread across her back, firm and steady. He did not pull her closer than necessary. Somehow, that restraint made the moment more dangerous. She pushed against his chest. "Don't." He released her immediately, but his eyes stayed locked on her like letting go had cost him something. That night, Amelia did not sleep. She sat in the library wrapped in Alessandro's coat while snow struck the windows. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw flashes that were not dreams. A marble floor, a woman screaming in Italian, a man with kind eyes pushing her into darkness, a silver ring shaped like a falcon. Near dawn, she found Alessandro standing in the hallway outside her door. Not sitting, not resting, standing guard. "You've been here all night?" she asked. "Yes." "Do you ever sleep?" "When necessary." "And when is that?" "When you are safe." The answer made her angry, because it made her feel something she did not want to feel. "You can't say things like that." His gaze lowered. "I know. Then why do you?" "Because I am good at silence, Amelia. Not lies." She folded her arms. "Tell me one truth, then." He looked down the empty corridor. "The man who tried to kill you tonight was Victor Sorrento." "The name means nothing to me." "It will." "Is he one of the 5 families?" "He is the son of the man who ordered the massacre." Amelia swallowed. "And why does he want me dead now?" Alessandro stepped closer, slowly enough that she could move away. She didn't. "Because the journal you carried contains a trigger, a sequence of names, dates, locations. If your memory returns, you will be able to identify every surviving man who betrayed the Accord." "And you?" His eyes held hers. "Me too." The admission hit harder than she expected. "You were there." "I was young." "That is not an answer." "No." "Did you kill people that night?" His face became unreadable. "I killed the men who found you." Amelia went still. "What?" "They were searching the villa. You were hiding in a wine cellar behind broken crates. You had blood on your dress and one hand over your mouth, so they would not hear you breathe." Her vision blurred. "No, I carried you out through the orange grove." "No, you were too shocked to cry." "Stop. You asked me if your father was coming back." Her palms struck his face before she knew she had moved. The sound echoed through the hall. Alessandro did not react. He did not touch his cheek. He simply accepted it. Amelia's hand trembled. "I don't remember you." His voice was quieter than before. "I remember enough for both of us." She hated him then, for knowing, for hiding it, for standing there like a beautiful monument to every missing piece of her life. But as she turned away, she heard him say, almost too softly, "I am sorry I did not save him." She stopped. Something in his voice was not guilt alone. It was grief, and that frightened her more than his violence ever could. By noon, Amelia's face was on every news channel in America. Unknown woman rescued by alleged crime lord during Boston gala attack. Governor's daughter ignored during shooting. Mystery brunette at center of international crime war. The media found her bookstore within hours. Reporters crowded the street. Police tape blocked the entrance. Someone had thrown a brick through the front window. Alessandro watched the footage without expression. Amelia stood beside him, arms wrapped around herself. "That store is all I have." "No," he said. She looked at him sharply. "You don't get to decide that." His jaw tightened. "No, but I get to make sure you are alive to reopen it." She turned away before he could see her eyes burn. Later that afternoon, he took a call in Italian. His voice stayed calm, but every man in the room seemed to grow more afraid with each word he spoke. When he hung up, his second-in-command, Matteo, looked pale. "Boss, the commission is calling for a meeting." "No, you cannot refuse all 5 families." "I just did. They'll call it betrayal." Alessandro's gaze moved to Amelia across the room. "Then let them spell it correctly." Matteo followed his gaze. Something dark flickered across his face. Amelia noticed. So did Alessandro. That evening, Elena brought Amelia a black dress in a garment bag. Amelia frowned. "What is this?" "Alessandro says you may need it." "For what?" "A funeral, a negotiation, or both." Amelia stared. "Is everyone in this house insane?" Elena smiled gently. "Only the men." The dress was simple, elegant, her size exactly. Amelia froze when she saw the label. Custom made, not recently altered, made months ago. She found Alessandro in the surveillance room. "You had clothes made for me." "Yes." "Before tonight?" Yes. Her pulse kicked. How many? He did not answer quickly enough. How many, Alessandro? His name on her lips changed the air between them. Enough. She stared at him, horrified. And something else she refused to name. That is obsessive. Yes. You understand that? Yes. Then why? His control slipped. Only a little, but enough. Because every time danger came near you, I had to prepare for the night I would be forced to take you from your life. I hoped it would never come. I prepared as if it would. Amelia's voice softened despite herself. And did you prepare me for losing everything? His face changed. No, he said. That is the one thing I could not make painless. The next day, Alessandro brought Amelia to a private penthouse above the financial district. The city glittered below them beneath a frozen sky. A meeting waited upstairs. Men with old money, old names, and older sins. Amelia was told to stay in a side room. She lasted 7 minutes. When she stepped into the main room, every conversation stopped. 5 men sat around a black marble table. Alessandro stood at the head, still as a blade. One of the men laughed softly. "This is her," he said. "The witness who has half of Europe terrified?" Alessandro's eyes did not move. "Choose your next words carefully." The man looked Amelia up and down with open disrespect. "She does not look like someone worth starting a war over." The room went silent. Amelia felt the insult land, familiar in shape though dressed in expensive cruelty. She lifted her chin. "No," she said before Alessandro could speak. "I look like someone you underestimated. I imagine that happens to you often with women who are smarter than you. For one beautiful second, nobody breathed." Then Alessandro laughed. It was quiet, brief, and lethal. The man's face reddened. Alessandro stepped beside Amelia, not in front of her this time. Beside her. "She is under my protection," he said. "But make no mistake, she does not need my permission to humiliate you." Amelia should not have felt proud. She did. Then Victor Sorrento's voice came from the screen at the far wall. "Still collecting broken things, De Luca?" The video feed flickered to life. Victor appeared in a candlelit room, silver-haired, elegant, poisonous. Alessandro's entire body became ice. Victor smiled at Amelia. "Hello, little witness." Pain flashed through her skull. A silver falcon ring. Blood. On white sleeves. A man kneeling in front of her. Victor leaned closer to the camera. "Do you remember the song your mother sang while they dragged her away?" Amelia stopped breathing. Alessandro drew his gun and shot the screen. The room erupted, but Amelia only heard one thing. A melode. Soft. Italian. A lullaby buried beneath 28 years of silence. She ran, not because she knew where she was going, because staying near Alessandro meant remembering, and remembering meant breaking. She made it to the penthouse elevator before he caught her. He did not grab her. He stepped into her path and let the doors close behind him. "Move," she said. "No," I said, "move. You are shaking." "I'm remembering my mother screaming. Forgive me if I'm not calm." His face tightened. "I should have warned you. You should have left me alone." I tried. "No. You watched. You controlled. You decided. You built a life around protecting me without asking if I wanted your protection." His voice dropped. "Would you have wanted the truth?" She swallowed. "I wanted a choice." That struck him. For the first time, Alessandro De Luca looked like a man who had no weapon against the sentence. The elevator doors opened. He stepped aside. Amelia stared at him. "You're letting me leave?" "No, Alessandro. I am letting you choose the direction. I am still coming with you." She almost laughed. "You are impossible." "Yes." "And arrogant." "Yes." "And terrifying." His chase held hers. "Yes." The honesty should have made him monstrous. Instead, it made him devastating. Downstairs, snow fell hard over the city. Cameras waited outside the building. Police cars lined the street. Amelia stepped out before Alessandro could stop her. A reporter shouted, "Miss Brooks, are you romantically involved with Alessandro De Luca?" Another yelled, "Did he kidnap you? Are you the reason the governor's daughter was left unprotected?" The questions cut from every side. Then, a woman's voice rose above the crowd. "Why would a man like him choose someone like you?" Everything went still. Amelia felt it. The old sting. Not shame. Exhaustion. Before she could answer, Alessandro came to stand behind her. Not touching. Not controlling. Present. The reporter smirked. "I mean, the world wants to know why the most powerful man in Boston walked past every beautiful woman in that ballroom and went to her." Alessandro's voice was calm. "That question contains your mistake." The cameras turned to him. She was the most beautiful woman in that room. Silence crashed over the street. Amelia could not look at him, but she felt his words settle around her like warmth she had never asked for and did not know how to refuse. Then Alessandro stepped closer to the microphones. "And if any outlet prints one more insult about her appearance, I will purchase it by morning and fire everyone responsible by lunch." The next headline wrote itself. "Mafia Boss declares mysterious bookstore owner most beautiful woman in the room." By nightfall, Amelia's bookstore had flowers stacked outside the broken windows. By midnight, 3 rival families had issued death warrants. By dawn, Victor Sorrento sent a black box to the safe house. Inside was a child's red ribbon and a note. "She remembers more than you think. Ask her what happened under the orange tree." Amelia read the note twice before her knees weakened. Alessandro took the ribbon from her hand. His face changed in a way she had never seen. Fear, not for himself, for her. "What happened under the orange tree?" she asked. He looked away. "Tell me." "No, tell me." His voice broke slightly when he answered. "That is where your father died." The memory came like a door being kicked open. She was 6 years old again. The night smelled of oranges and smoke. A man knelt before her, blood soaking through his shirt. He cupped her face with trembling hands. "Listen to me, Amelia," he whispered. "You are brave. You are so brave." Behind him, a young Alessandro stood with a gun in his hand. His face splashed with blood that was not his. Her father looked at him. "Protect her." Alessandro said nothing. Her father grabbed his wrist. "Promise me." The young man's voice was hoarse. "I promise." Then her father pressed something into Amelia's tiny palm, a silver key. The memory ended with screaming. Amelia came back to herself on the floor of the safe house. Alessandro kneeling in front of her but not touching her. Tears streamed down her face. "You promised him." "Yes." "He was my father." "Yes." "And you never told me." His eyes were full of controlled devastation. "If I told you too soon, your mind might have fractured under memories it buried to keep you alive. You don't get to sound noble while lying to me." "No." "Did you know where the key was?" His expression changed. "What key?" Amelia opened her trembling hand, as if the child version of herself had just placed it there. "A silver key." "He gave it to me." Alessandro stood slowly. "Where is it now?" She knew. She did not understand how, but she knew. "My bookstore." They reached Beacon Hill before sunrise. Snow covered the broken glass outside Amelia's shop. Alessandro's men secured the block. Black SUVs lined along the street like shadows. Inside, the bookstore looked wounded. Shelves overturned, pages scattered, her front window shattered. Amelia stood in the doorway, grief rising in her throat. Alessandro's hand hovered near her back. He almost touched her. Stopped. She noticed. That restraint ruined her more than force would have. "The key," he said softly. Amelia walked to the oldest shelf in the back, where she kept children's books too damaged to sell but too loved to throw away. She pulled out a cracked copy of The Secret Garden. Inside the spine was the silver key, Alessandro stared at it. "What does it open?" she asked. "A vault beneath St. Michael's. The abandoned church?" He nodded. "My father hid something there." "Not something," Alessandro said. "Everything." They went to the church as the city woke. St. Michael's stood at the edge of the harbor, boarded up, half forgotten, its steeple cutting into the grey sky. Inside, candles had been lit. Someone was already there. Matteo stepped from the shadows with a gun pointed at Amelia. Alessandro stopped. The betrayal moved through the church like cold wind. "Matteo," he said. "I told you," Matteo replied, voice shaking. "You cannot burn an empire for her." Alessandro's expression was unreadable. "I built the empire. I decide what burns." Matteo's gun trembled. "You were supposed to be king." Alessandro glanced at Amelia. "I was." The words hit her like a confession. Victor's men emerged from the side aisles. A trap. Matteo had sold them out. Victor himself walked forward beneath the broken stained glass, smiling. "Love," he said, "has made you predictable." Alessandro did not move. "No," he said. "Love made you careless." The church bells rang once. Then the floor beneath Victor's men exploded upward in smoke. Alessandro's soldiers burst from the crypt tunnels below. Gunfire tore through the abandoned church. Alessandro grabbed Amelia and pulled her behind the altar as bullets shattered saints made of glass. She clutched the silver key. "Did you know this would happen?" she shouted. "I suspected. You brought me into a shootout, you suspected? I brought an army, despite the terror." She stared at him. "You are insane." His eyes flashed. "Only when someone points a gun at you." A bullet struck his shoulder. His body jerked. Amelia screamed his name. Alessandro looked almost offended by his own blood. "It's nothing." She grabbed his face with both hands. "Do not say that to me." The command stunned them both. For one suspended second, the battle faded. His eyes dropped to her hands on his face. Something raw moved through him. Then he leaned closer, close enough that she felt his breath. "I am trying very hard," he said, "not to love you in the middle of a war." Her heart broke open. "Try harder." His almost smile was devastating. Then Victor seized her from behind. The cold barrel of a gun pressed beneath her chin. Alessandro went still. Every weapon in the church shifted. Victor smiled. "Drop yours." Alessandro did. All of them. One by one, his men lowered their guns. Amelia's breath shook. "Don't," she whispered. Alessandro's eyes stayed on hers. "There is no empire with you dead in it." Victor Laufel. "That is the difference between us, De Luca. I would kill the woman to keep the throne." Alessandro's voice was quiet. "That is why you never deserved one." Amelia looked at the silver key in her hand, then at the altar. The memory returned. Her father's voice. "Brave, Amelia." She drove the key into a hidden lock beneath the altar rail and turned it. The crypt doors beneath Victor's feet opened. He lost balance for half a second. Half a second was all Alessandro needed. He moved. The gunshot echoed through the church. Amelia fell, not from the bullet, from Alessandro's body crashing into hers, shielding her completely as he took the shot meant for her. Victor screamed as Alessandro's men overtook him, but Amelia heard none of it. She saw only Alessandro bleeding against the stone floor, his hand still covering hers. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." His eyes opened. "Amelia, stay with me. I have been doing that for 12 years. Don't make jokes now. I am terrible at them anyway." Tears fell onto his shirt. He lifted one bloodied hand and stopped just before touching her face, still asking without words. This time, she leaned into his palm. His breath caught. The vault beneath St. Michael's held everything. Names, contracts, photographs, recorded confessions, proof that 5 mafia families had collaborated with corrupt officials, murdered federal agents, trafficked power through governments, and erased anyone who threatened the system. It also held letters, dozens of them, written by Alessandro, never sent. Amelia read them in the hospital, while Alessandro recovered behind armed doors. The first letter was dated 12 years earlier. You opened your bookstore today. You painted the sign yourself and got green paint on your cheek. You smiled at an old woman who had no money and gave her a book anyway. Your father asked me to protect your life. He did not warn me that your life would teach me what mine was missing. Amelia pressed the letter to her chest and cried silently. Another letter. A man insulted you outside the cafe today. You laughed, as if it did not hurt. I wanted to break his jaw. Instead, I bought the building and terminated his lease. This is why I should not come near you. Another. You wore blue today. I forgot the name of a man I was supposed to threaten because I was thinking about whether you knew how beautiful you looked standing in the rain. I am becoming dangerous in ways even I do not understand. By the time Alessandro woke, Amelia was sitting beside his hospital bed. Luxury hospital, private floor, armed guards outside, rain streaking down the windows. He opened his eyes and found her holding the letters. His expression closed. You were not supposed to see those. I found them in a vault under a church after you got shot for me. I think privacy has left the relationship. His mouth twitched, then pain stopped it. You are angry. Yes, because I wrote them. Because you never sent them. He stared at her. She leaned forward. You let me think I was alone. His face tightened. I thought distance was mercy. It wasn't. No, he said. I know that now. For a long moment, only rain filled the room. Then Amelia asked, What happens now? Alessandro looked toward the window. The evidence goes to the FBI. Victor stands trial if my men do not kill him first. The families fracture. My empire becomes a target. And you? His eyes returned to her. I disappear. Her heart dropped. What? It is the only way you are free. No. Amelia, no. You do not get to decide that loving me means leaving me. His control cracked. If I stay, danger stays with me. Danger found me before I even knew your name. I am not a good man. I know. I have killed. I know. I have ordered things you would never forgive if I described them. Her eyes filled, but she did not look away. Then, spend the rest of your life becoming someone who can tell me. The silence between them trembled. Alessandro looked at her as if she had offered him something more frightening than death. A future. 3 weeks later, the entire underworld watched Alessandro De Luca destroy himself. He walked into federal court in a black suit, one arm still in a sling. Amelia beside him in a deep green coat. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted. Men who once feared him now whispered that he had gone mad. Maybe he had, because he handed over every file, every account, every route, every name. He traded an empire for a woman's freedom. When a reporter shouted, "Was she worth it?" Alessandro stopped on the courthouse steps. Amelia looked at him. He looked only at her. "Yes," he said. No speech. No performance. One word. Enough to ruin every kingdom he had ever built. Victor Sorrento's network collapsed within 48 hours. Matteo disappeared before trial. 3 families turned on each other. 2 begged for immunity. 1 tried to send assassins to Amelia's hospital room. Alessandro met them in the hallway. He was still wounded. He still won. By spring, Amelia reopened the bookstore. The front window was new. The shelves were repaired. A small brass plaque near the register read, "For those who survived the fire and still chose stories." On opening day, customers lined around the block. Some came because of the headlines. Some came because they admired her. Some came just to see whether the rumors were true. Whether the most feared man in Boston really stood in the corner of a tiny bookstore, silently carrying boxes, arranging antique books with absurd seriousness, and glaring at anyone who stepped too close to the owner. He did. Amelia found him trying to alphabetize poetry by emotional damage. "That is not a real category," she said. "It should be." She laughed. He looked at her like the sound had rewritten something inside him. Outside, rain softened the street. Inside, the bookstore glowed warm and gold. Alessandro stepped closer. Slowly. He still moved, like a dangerous man. But now, he stopped in front of her with the restraint of someone learning tenderness by hand. "I bought something," he said. Her eyes narrowed. "If it's another media company, we need to talk." "It is not." He handed her a small velvet box. Inside was not a ring. It was the silver key, cleaned and restored, hanging from a delicate chain. Amelia's breath caught. "I thought it belonged with you," he said. She touched it gently. "And you." His voice lowered. "I belong wherever you allow me to stay." The man who had once commanded armies said it like a confession. Not ownership. Not demand. A request. Amelia stepped closer. For once, he did not stop himself from touching her. His hand settled at her waist, careful and reverent, as if she were not something fragile, but something sacred. "You are still terrifying," she whispered. "Yes." "Still impossible." "Yes." "Still emotionally damaged." "Deeply." She smiled through tears. "But you're trying." His forehead lowered to hers. "For you, Amelia Brooks, I would learn how to be human from the beginning." Outside, thunder rolled softly over Boston. Inside, surrounded by books, rain, and the quiet life he had once believed he could never touch, Alessandro De Luca kissed the woman he had spent 12 years protecting. Not because she needed saving, because she had saved the part of him no empire had ever reached. And when the bell above the bookstore door chimed behind them, Alessandro did not reach for his gun. Not first. First, he looked at Amelia, and for the first time in his life, the most dangerous man in Boston waited for peace to tell him what to do next.